Welcome, Mr. Dr. Abraham Gasparyan, Head of News Analytical Department at Armnews TV.
Yeah, thank you very much. Thank you very much. First, I would like to tell my analysis about the media role during this war. To the mind of many observers, the Karabakh War coverage in many European countries plunged the media into a severe credibility crisis because of numerous cases of misinformation and an uncritical handling of information sources. I had small investigation within some Western media sources and can fairly insist that there is a big manipulative effort, some kind of information control strategy for war reporting. There is no criticism on war's legitimacy. This is a big problem for us in general, for all the workers in media field. My own content analysis of editorials in some Western newspapers and electronic media confirmed the absence of a debate on the legitimacy and political appropriateness of the Turkish-Azerbaijani mutual military mission. I want to speak about the issue in brief with many examples from the history, political history of the world. You know, Vietnam War was the first to have the use of TV, and perhaps it could not be managed so well by the US generals and is usually blamed for the US defeat in Vietnam. There had been a lot of controversy about the coverage of Falkland War and also about the US invasion of Grenada when the media was not allowed to go to the war theater with the invading troops. In the war in the Gulf in 1991, the media management was such improved and perhaps played a major role in projecting mainly the story of the United States-led forces. In fact, media have been turned into weapons of psychological warfare, which can justify war and can continue the war of minds without even a formal declaration prior to, during, and even after the actual war. For example, during the Vietnam War, the propaganda was that it was a conflict of Vietnamese against Vietnamese, into which the United States threw their weight on the side of democracy and freedom. This assumption pervaded the media and was in fact quite false and dishonest, like the Nazi propaganda when the Germans were overrunning the Czechoslovakia. But it was so insistent that many people believed in the fundamental goodness of the United States mission. It is important to mention that the big story of Vietnam War was not reported until it was virtually over. I think that the same thing we are living nowadays in Karabakh, especially from the Azeri and Turkish sides. There is no free and transparent policy towards news covering or film shooting during this war. We seldom see Turkish and Azerbaijani TV channels or electronic media who take the risk to cover warfare and civil casualties, nor in unbiased manner, neither bravely, honestly, and with professional prompt. By the way, we have the same situation with the case of internationally known and prominent media sources, especially when we speak about warfare coverage by CNN, BBC, Euronews, Deutsche Welle, Al Jazeera, and Reuters. In contrast to Azerbaijani falsified media policy, the Armenian side had taken the initiative and authorized those media representatives to go up to the front line and cover the events as they are, not in fabricated manner. But we saw those media companies are covering the events so biased. In spite of the fact that Karabakh was the only platform of international media stations during this war, although Armenian authorities took the responsibility of their security, even those officials in the Ministry of Foreign Affairs of Nagorno-Karabakh Republic are working with these reporters, overcoming all difficulties and troubles with army institutions, making every effort to ease their work and make it conform. In spite of all of this, we saw their reports and shootings, film shootings, not as professional and objective product, but with keeping false parity and false equivalency in their reports. This war was a brilliant opportunity for reporters and experts to speak about the destructive role of Turkey in our region. I assure and repeat, deconstructive, not only because Ankara is still blockading Armenia about 3 decades, but also for trying to make South Caucasus a lair of terrorist groups and mercenaries. During this war, I especially made a series of investigations, demonstrated and argued with many valid proofs that more than 1,450 mercenaries had brought to Azerbaijan to fight against Armenian forces in Karabakh. Azerbaijan today is reportedly the most dangerous country in the world, a feeding ground for terrorist groups, especially those who get reincarnation after wars in Iraq, Syria, Libya, and other Middle Eastern countries. The absolute majority of prominent and famous media representatives are fully aware of these facts, especially since the leaders of their representing countries had proved these facts many times. They unfortunately preferred to be under the policy of their companies, but not to behave such professional. Imagine, I saw many of these kind of so-called journalists in many destroyed cities in Artsakh during the last 3 weeks. I saw their reports and had the headache. Imagine, they make reports from the event place. They see that the other fighting side is bombing civilians and civilian infrastructures with internationally banned weapons, with cluster bombs. But in their reports, they insist that Armenian officials claim that these bombs are internationally banned. I think that we have big problems with media coverage during the war. And this problem is not only the problem of Armenians of other regional states. We have this problem around the world. You know, when we speak about attacking civilians, attacking civilians who don't have any connection with the war, but the media is so conservative in covering this issue. It is a big problem for us. Thank you for listening, for your time. I will try to represent my minds, my thoughts in brief.
Thank you very much for your time and for being here. I know you need to leave soon, but anyone like other questions maybe?
Maybe.
This would be, like I said, a unique opportunity.
One remark. I I told it to Mukotic too, that I saw on Wikipedia that in between 5 or 10 minutes, the the wrong news from Baku, that the hero of one of the Armenian military heroes was killed. It was a wrong message. Just in between 5 minutes, it was on Wikipedia and changed, I think, half a day later. And that also seems that there is a great backbone of the on the propaganda side, even in Wikipedia.
Yeah, of course, you know, the Azeri side was preparing to this war more than 4 years, and they took all opportunities of propaganda to make this war more crumbly. They are working on many platforms, on not just Wikipedia. They are working on media, on think tanks. They are working on the front of only on the front line, but only in backstages. They were working with many think tanks to just justify their war against Armenians. More than 4 years, more than 5 years, sorry. They are working just to tell to the world that our invasion into Karabakh is internationally permitted and it is legal. That's why we see during this war that the Azerbaijani and Turkish sides closed all the channels of the internet, access to many social media platforms, especially Facebook or Twitter, to make their population unknown about the reality, unknown about what is happening on the front line.
Thank you very much for your time. It's much appreciated from all of us. So thank you, Mr. Abraham Gasparyan, Head of News and Analytical Department at Armnews TV. Thank you very much.